Hope everybody is doing well and that you had a pleasant Thanksgiving and that now you are getting ready for the Christmas season and all along those lines. I know that there are a couple of Christmas events that'll be going on at the Cultural Arts Center that I work at and all in that space, including a holiday concert that I think will be this weekend. I believe it's Sunday, if I am remembering correctly, and all along those lines. And of course, even though some people could say that I could play him with the white beard and everything, we're going to have Black Santa Claus at the Hayti on the 20th through the 24th and all along those lines. But right now, I've noticed that a couple of things are going on during the holiday season. I got a chance to, with my nephews, put up the Christmas tree at mom's house and all along those lines. And I saw that recently Jill Biden was doing something similar. She was saying that, they have this tradition of doing the decoration of the White House. And definitely this year, if you step inside the White House during the holidays, you'll be walking beneath the branches of a Christmas tree. You can stroll along the hallway decorated with oversized holiday candy and other sweets. You can see Santa's sleigh and his 8 reindeer suspended above the grand foyer in dramatic fashion. And Jill Biden wants everyone who visits the White House during the holidays to feel like a kid again. Each room is designed to capture this pure, unfiltered delight and imagination so visitors see this time of year through the wondrous, sparkling eyes of children, the First Lady said on Monday at the first of a month's worth of holiday receptions. They're expecting a whole lot of visitors during the holidays. About 100,000 visitors are expected for the holidays. So that's what they're expecting around the White House and all along that kind of way. And apparently, magic, wonder, and joy is the theme this year. And maybe people have themes in their own house and all along those lines, but that's just some of that holiday cheer that I was going to share coming from one of our political leaders, that being Jill Biden, and all in that space. I said earlier as we started the show that I was going to give Adam Lambarello some credit because definitely I'm getting ready to bring him up very shortly and all along those lines. But for a number of these shows, he's been talking about the rise of support in the African American and the Latino community within the for the Republicans. And apparently, a CNN article recently said that that might be the case as well. So Adam scooped CNN and a number of other sources. So apparently, President Joe Biden's weakness in polls among non-white voters is boosting Republican hopes that the GOP is poised to extend its most important political breakthroughs of modern times and potentially to reshape the competition between the two parties along the way. So, according to the CNN article, the most consequential political gain for Republicans in recent decades has been the increasing strength among working class white voters, a process that begun under Presidents Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan in the 1970s and 1980s, but peaked in recent years under Donald Trump. Once the brawny backbone of the Democrats' New Deal coalition that dominated American politics from the 1930s until the 1960s, white voters without a college degree have become the foundation of the modern GOP. Now, some political observers, and apparently maybe Adam is one of them, believe working class minority voters are moving along the same track and largely for the same reasons. Just as millions of working class white voters recoiled from democratic cultural liberalism during the social upheavals of the 1960s and the 70s, they argue working class Latino and even black voters are shifting toward the GOP now in rejection of quote unquote woke ideology on issues such as crime, immigration, and LGBTQ rights. Such arguments are fueling the increasingly common assertion that Republicans are building a multiracial populist coalition, as GOP pollster Patrick Ravina argues in his uh, latest research book called Party of the People. While the rightward shift of white and non white voters without a college degree toward the GOP in the Trump years may seem like two discrete, unrelated events, the two groups share a common working class DNA and their political shifts stem from the same root, according to Rafina. So, a wide array of recent polls show Biden with an unusually small lead for a Democrat among both Black and Latino voters in a potential 2024 rematch with Trump. But many analysts say it's less clear that Democrats are facing a lasting structural realignment among those voters, much less a change rooted in a long term cultural alienation from the party rather than immediate dissatisfaction with the economy under Biden. So one of the quotes I'll get to, and then I'll bring my panelists in and see what they've got to say about this. But Carlos Odio, Senior Vice President for Research at Equius Research, a Democratic polling firm that specializes in Latino voters, says, I keep looking forward as well, but you are not seeing as much evidence for a cultural war driving any kind of change at this moment. What's driving Trump and the Republicans is the economy. At the end of the day, it's the economy, stupid, over and over again. So it might be that there is some commonalities going on and all along those lines. And like I said, I will give credit where credit is due. So I'm going to bring in Mr. Adam Lamparello. We don't always agree on everything along those lines, but I found that article as I was doing research for this particular show, World Politics, and I was going like, wait a minute. I think that my friend Adam has been saying this for the last several months and all along these lines. So you may have scooped CNN, you may have scooped a number of other people as well. So I have to give credit where credit is due and all along those lines. So definitely wanted to know if you've got any thoughts about this and whether you are glad to take these accolades, because apparently you were saying this before CNN got to it and all in this space. So go for it. Put yourself in that presidential mode, since we know you're running for president as well at some point in the future. But it looks like you may have jumped the gun and had some folks that are agreeing with you, because they were saying that there is a rise of support among the both the African American and the Latino population, and possibly even the Asian population, even though they didn't say that, but I'm adding them to the mix as well among the folks that are possibly going to vote for Trump. So any thoughts around what I just said and this particular article that I found?
Well, thank you, Mark, for giving me credit. I appreciate it. And I certainly wish CNN had cited me in their article, but that's another issue. I'd like to applaud African Americans and Latinos for shifting more towards the Republican Party. And the Republican Party will be the party of diversity in the future. And the reason is twofold. First, what people really care about is not social issues or the woke agenda of the extreme left wing. It's about money. It's about their own economic situation. Okay, it's about inflation. It's about taxes. It's about job opportunities. And under Trump, African Americans and Latinos had the lowest unemployment rate ever. Trump's policies on the economy were better. And at the end of the day, people vote with their wallet. And I think Latinos and African Americans are seeing that, and I applaud them for that. And I suspect that that shift towards the right will continue. This isn't to say that we should be applauding the extreme elements of the Republican Party either, though. What it means is we need to embrace moderation, we need to embrace compromise, and we need to embrace unity and coming together. The second thing I believe is the intangible qualities that Biden doesn't have. I just think that voters see Biden as too old, as not a great communicator, as not someone who inspires them as a leader. And I think those intangible qualities are what's going to lose him the election in 2024 and bring us a second Trump term.
Well, we've got somebody on the network that would disagree with you and all along those lines. So we do love having different conversations and all in that space. And I know that even though he cannot vote in our election, there is a gentleman from Canada that would probably argue that Trump will not be the president the next time around and all in that space. So it is with a great deal of pleasure that I also bring you Sasha Starr and see what he's got to say about all this as well. So Sasha, apparently there's some news going on, and I reported some of it, that some of the voting blocks, namely the African American and the Latin vote, may be shifting to some degree, not saying that all of them, but to some degree toward a stronger block that will be voting for Mr. Trump. And I know that you said that he stands a lot of issues that he still got to get through, including the trials, including a number of other things that are going on. And by the way, this is for both you and Adam and Sasha. But I think Sasha may have already heard this story and everything. But during the holiday breaks, I got to see my cousin, who is a GBI officer. And I know you spent some time in Georgia, Adam, so that would be the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. And he was telling me that one of the things that he noticed was that Mr. Trump did not get a warm welcome when he was going to the Atlanta courthouse and all of that, because he was serving in the detail. He'll be doing some of the detail for Rosalind Carter's funeral as well, but he was part of the group of folks that were bringing Mr. Trump to the courthouse. And, they don't always get the route ahead of time. So they actually took him to the hood. So my cousin Jonathan said that when he noticed it, he looked off to the side and he saw that they were going through Morehouse. They were going through a number of other neighborhoods. So there weren't a lot of MAGA supporters that were there. There were some people even flipping him the bird and doing a number of other things as he was going through the rougher neighborhoods in Atlanta. And like I said, my cousin did not necessarily see the route until after the route had been proceeding and everything. But yeah, he looked off to the side and he's like, wait a minute. That's our neighborhood, meaning Morehouse and all in that space. So yeah, they kind of took him to a neighborhood where he wasn't going to have a lot of friends.
Well,
this speculation about the future president of the United States is a little bit premature, by about at least 6, maybe 8 months premature, because there are still so many things could change in this 6, 8 months, maybe even more. And either choice is a negative for the United States. And the people who will vote for either of them, they're damn stupid. And it's not really what United States need. Neither of them. Biden for obvious reasons. Also, frankly, okay. The only thing is his speech, and whenever he talks, it's okay. That's not terrible because he still can express some concepts here and there, and he's not making too many problems. Now, his physical condition, whenever he falls and he cannot walk normally or so on. Well, remember the Roosevelt during Second World War. He was not in physically great form either. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and he's considered to be one of the greatest presidents of all time. So that's it. All depends on really what's going to happen in the next few months internationally, in the United States. From economic viewpoints, the way I see what's going to happen is that interest rates will start going down, probably by second quarter of next year, if not earlier. So that could be viewed as a positive development, and Biden can score some points out of that. But we'll see. It's all uncertain. So a lot of people are watching that or so on, so it's too difficult to predict. But the way market is acting right now, the talk about raising interest rates, it's all but disappeared. So it's either the interest rates will be kept the same, or I think they will start talking about taking them down because the service U.S. debt of $4 trillion with existing interest rates is getting next to impossible. And if they will continue to go even higher, so U.S. will default on its obligation, which is against the Constitution. But who cares about Constitution? You simply cannot service your debt. Do you care about Constitution in that case? Well, probably you do. But then what you do, how you service your debt when it's impossible under that scenario. So the interest rates have to go down. Not great, big time, but at least somewhat down. Maybe not even a half, maybe even full percentage points. That's the way I see it. And that would be beneficial for Democrats. Whether it's really changed the picture, I can't say one way or another.
But we've got one of our founders. But before we get to Nick, I was going to get to another one of the founders as well, because I had a very interesting conversation. Like I said, I have a unusual family in the sense that we break the rules, because I know that there is a rule that some families have that you don't talk politics, you don't talk religion, you don't talk sports, and a number of other things at the family outings. But I come from a family of activists and a family of folks that are involved in a number of causes. So those conversations come up, even though I know that in a lot of families that is frowned upon and all in that space, but it is not frowned upon in my particular family, and we actually have them quite often and all of that space. But Kim, the reason I was glad that I was going to bring you up even before bringing up Nick, one of the things that my brother brought up, and I don't know that I necessarily agree with him, but it is an interesting standpoint. Is we were talking about Dobbs, because we know that during the midterms that impacted a number of the elections that were more on the state level and all in that space. And my brother is of the opinion, if I am remembering correctly what he argued and all in that space, that on the federal level, it might not be as much of an issue and all in that space. So as the woman voice this time on the show, I did invite some other women, but as the women voice, I was just wondering, do you think that Dobbs will be a issue that people will care about and will use to vote on and all in that space? Or is it, as Adam and even my brother argued that point, that it's going to be about the economy and even about the health, because he was mentioning that Trump's health isn't all that great either and everything. But do you think that Dobbs will have as much impact as it did on the midterm elections and some of the elections that are not as federal and all in that space? Or will that be a non-entity? In other words, will the women come out to vote against Mr. Trump because of some of the things that he has done and some of his stances, even around Dobbs?
I don't know that Trump will fail to get any of the women's votes. I believe that Adam is correct, that it's all about the wallet, based on the conversations I heard. Now, in my family, I have a rule that I don't discuss politics around them because they are very right-wing extremists and there is no conversation. You might as well be prepared to be shot. So I just prefer living a little bit longer. Love them. But yeah, so I have a rule that I don't discuss politics around people like that. It's too stressful. I want to enjoy the holidays, and I enjoy conversations like that here. But let's talk about that. I believe that the economy is, all messed up. Nobody's happy about it. And if it turns around next year, then the Democrats have a really good opportunity to win. But they're going to have to turn it around. If it doesn't, if it stagnates, then the Republicans are going to take it back. And I personally would like to see, instead of a Democrat or a Republican, I would like to see a non-party affiliated person come in and fix the problems that we have, not sit there and drag us in one direction or the other, because that's what we have right now. We have a situation where, if one party wins, we get drugged this way. If another party wins, we get drugged that way. I mean, and we haven't been able to do a decent two-step dance without going two steps forward, one step back. Actually, we go one step forward and five steps back. So I believe that the wallet is going to control the situation. I think that as you see the economy improve, people will get jobs, better jobs. There are a lot of homeless right now, and that is concerning. But I don't believe it's because there's not enough jobs. There are plenty in fact, people are having to shut down their businesses or cut back their businesses because they are unable to hire enough employees. So I believe that a lot of the homeless, that problems that we have is about policy. People can't get a job if they don't have a home address, and we need to fix that. You want to get people off the street and get them a job, you fix the policy so that they can get a job. And that's what needs to be fixed. Not Democrats or Republicans. We don't need Democrats or Republicans. We need real people in office saying, we're going to fix these problems. Fix them.
Yep.
Fix them so that the guy out here begging for money can go into the store saying, we are hiring, and he can get a job. But he can't right now because he doesn't have a home address. How stupid is our country to set policies up so that homeless people cannot get a job? How stupid is that? So that's what we need to fix. We need to fix the interest rates so that they come down and people can get mortgages and loans and get themselves out of debt. And so that it stops accruing a higher interest earned on the money market for all the rich, wealthy white men that got PPP loans that they don't have to pay back. That's right, Nick.
Well, now that is a racist statement. I'm appalled.
It's racist
Well,
and sexist.
Well, I just want to chime in. I got a city council meeting. I'm sorry I was late today, but I've got to go in 5 minutes. But I want to just thank everyone for being here today. And my analysis is that, Kimberly, I totally agree with everything that you said. But the reality is that there's the real thing going on today is the amount of money that's coming in the political system, right? So it's no longer about the politicians and what they're doing. They're in Washington right now, fundraising in between votes. In order to win a presidency, you got to raise north of billions of dollars. The governorship of North Carolina is going to be a $60 million race. The Tom Tillis race in 2026 is going to be an $800 million race if he runs around against Governor Cooper. And the bottom line is that because so much money is in the system, people are no longer doing what they should be doing, solving problems. So it's so divided. The second thing I will say, and I know Adam Lamparello is probably going to be surprised that I've said this, but I ended up meeting the Speaker of the House yesterday in North Carolina, who's running for the U.S. Congress. He's already raised $800,000. They redistricted the maps. Actually, he's a decent guy. We're friends. I don't agree with a lot of things he's done in the General Assembly, but he laid out a pretty good case for why he thinks Donald Trump is a better candidate right now, despite all the crazy things that Trump has said has done. And it's a pretty simple argument. He just says, look, all the crazy things happening in the world weren't happening when Trump was president. Kind of Ukraine, Israel, the Hamas, the war, all these things. And so now that's what the Republicans are going to do. They're going to come in and say, look at the world order. When we had a tyrant in power, people were afraid of us. They weren't doing anything. Now, I don't agree with that. I know Sasha Starr probably doesn't agree with that. But I got to tell you, the way things are going now, but a lot can happen in 6 months. But, maybe things will turn now that there's a truce with the hostages and everything. I'd like to hear what Lamparello thinks, but, 6 months is a long time in politics. So things could change.
I think that the Speaker of the House is right on. I mean, when you talk about American politics and the presidency, voters, you have to think and ask yourself, number one, what are the domestic policies under Trump versus Biden? Under Trump, we had low inflation, the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans and Hispanics. We had, think about it, a great economy. Okay. People were doing well under Trump. We had a low corporate tax rate. We had a high employment rate, and we had a strong middle class. Under Biden, that has not been the case. The second thing you have to look at is foreign policy. Under Trump, there were no wars. There was even an outreach to Kim Jong-un. In fact, Trump even went to North Korea to visit with him. There were no wars. There was not the nonsense that's going on now with Ukraine, Russia, Hamas, and, of course, Israel. Third thing you have to look at is the intangibles. Is Biden someone who inspires you as a leader? Has he done anything inspirational at all? The answer to that question is no. What we've had is high unemployment, high inflation, higher taxes, and a world that is less stable under Biden. And I want the American voters to think of this last thing. Look at what this country has become. Look at how divided we are. Look at how woke academia has become. Look at how liberal our professors have become. Look at how disunited we've become because academia is teaching students to think one way. They're not teaching them how to think. They're teaching them what to think. We need to come back to a leader who's going to not only inspire us, but who's going to create the policies that are going to make our lives better. And between Trump and Biden, Trump is the better candidate.
Well spoken, a lot of half-truths, but well spoken for sure. Because one thing that we do like to omit, Mr. Lamparello, is 25% of all the national debt was acquired under your friend Donald Jerk Trump. Okay, so the thing is,
well, that is very rude.
To say this guy did a great job. Look, anybody can go to the credit card, run up a huge bill. He had no clue how to deal. When he faced his first crisis, COVID-19, the guy was clueless. He was like clueless as to what to do. His turnover rate was horrible. The only reason he would win this election, he's got somebody worse than him in the office right now, Joe Biden. And we went and did a poll with your friend Joe Manchin. Guess what? Trump would beat Joe Manchin and Joe Biden combined, and still get the majority. So Manchin's out. So who would be good? Actually, Mitt
But anyway, let me.
Romney has not put his hat in the ring. If he puts his hat in the ring and Joe Manchin
But the
goes,
fact of the matter, I'm gonna end with this.
right now.
I'm gonna bring this point up, and I'm gonna leave, and I'll be back tomorrow for the morning show. And I'm just sorry, my schedule's just crazy this month. But real quickly, I'll end with this. Yesterday when I went running, I ran to John F. Kennedy's inaugural. Okay, and it was amazing listening to the words of that inaugural on January 20th, 1961, where he said, "Ask not what you can do for your country, what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." And don't ask what America can do for you. Ask what together we can do for the freedom of man. And this was such an inspiration, having a young president that could set a vision out for our country, something different. Why did we go to the moon? Not because it was easy, but because it was hard. And we just have lost the sense of, unity in our diversity. I feel like it's so sad that we just are. Lord, I got depressed when I heard that speech because I said, I can't draw that inspiration today from any leader.
Well, there are people that give.
He brings up a great point.
We've lost a sense of pride in this country. Pride,
Kennedy
not just unity, but pride.
Hold on one second, because there are some people that give great speeches even to this day and everything.
The Vietnam War. Kennedy almost got us into World War III. Kennedy had the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Yeah, he wasn't a perfect person. I'm not.
Accomplishments. If you look at Kennedy as a president, he was absolutely horrible. The only one thing good happened during the administration of Kennedy. He died when he was in office.
All right, I have to respond to this because.
All right, guys, I got to run. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. I got to go do the work of the people. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Do the work of the people. But Adam, you wanted to respond?
Steve is 100% right. He's 100% right. But remember what JFK said. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. In other words, people have to stop relying upon the government to solve their problems or looking to the government to implement policies that are going to make their lives better. The best government is a government that stays out of the people's way and gives people choices and opportunities and freedom. The government is not here to serve you. You are here to serve the government. And the best way that you can do that is by being an informed voter and a productive citizen. And that was JFK's message. Now, as far as Nick goes, I find Nick to be very ungrateful because under Trump, Nick's going to, and this is going to shock people, he's going to get even wealthier, which it might seem unimaginable.
Yeah, but hold on a second.
Because we want rich people to get richer. You want to know why? We want corporations to get wealthier because they employ people. They give health care.
Down economics has never worked in our society.
I'm being interrupted
no
again.
matter how many times you try and sell supply side, let the rich get richer and we'll all eat from the same plate. No, we won't. It never works that way. It has never worked that way in our society. Kings and queens have never done that. It just doesn't happen. No, the way that it should work, honestly, as an analogy, look at any basketball game, football game, soccer, football, whatever you want to play. There are referees. Everybody plays up under the same rules. Everybody's given that same equal opportunity. Yes, the best games are when the referees aren't the ones who actually are the name or are the ones who control the game and are shown all the time. It's great when a referee doesn't call pass interference and, hey, lets the play happen. Or when a steal happens, a foul isn't called because they're trying to control the game, kick a player out. So, yes, the best games are when the referees aren't showed, but everybody's playing up under the same rules. That's not what's happening now. Just as Adam's up here talking about, we need to let the rich get richer and that'll help No, that they're not playing up under the same rules. That's a big lie. If you want government out of the way, if you want that equal thing that everybody wants, speaking in platitudes that, I'm going to sound honorable because I say this. Oh, let's get detailed and specific. When we were at our best as a country in terms of economically, the tax rates were a lot higher. We're not being honest now. We know for a fact that we're an older nation and growing older. The rich are getting richer, yes, and their wealth gap is growing and steadily growing. How rich people like Bezos and everybody jumped $200 and some odd billion while everybody else stayed the same. The problem is that we aren't being honest we aren't actually trying to make it to where everybody plays up under the same rules. We're trying to let the rich get richer because they're going to be benevolent rich people and help us out. It's not the way that it works.
They deserve every single cent that they have because they have put risk and capital into entrepreneurship and creating jobs for millions of people. And I am not going to sit here and look at a government and say we need to socially engineer it to create equality of outcomes. Equality of opportunity exists, but then it becomes the individual
to make
literally
on this show, Adam,
that are going to make them in the middle class, such as not committing crimes, having children before marriage, getting a college education. Okay, choices matter.
Adam, you have literally on this show argued and pointed out that systemic racism is real. So if you can agree, yes, you did. You said that there's an inequality in the education system. That's systemic racism. That's institutionalized racism. You may not want to name it because you're afraid of naming it for some reason. But again, that's a reality. So if you can agree that there are institutionalized things that hold people back based on their literal just being a particular color, which you've admitted does happen, you can't say that equality is there. We're all playing from the... No, you're speaking in platitudes trying to sell this white picket fence that never is a reality. That was never a thing.
Fence. What I'm saying is that there are disparities in the educational system that we must fix. But that doesn't mean, okay, that people can't make choices and decisions, such as, for example, 73% of Black children are born to single-parent families. We have individuals who engage in crime, delinquency, and
so you're saying, no, you're right there. Are you saying that Black people are inherently bad?
Of course, I'm not saying that. That's ridiculous. What I'm saying,
if you can admit that Black people aren't inherently bad, then just labeling me a number saying, well, 72% of Black people this, so it's Black people's choosing this, what they're doing. No, you
because
just
those
said
are variables that contribute to inequality.
There
Choices
are more
and decisions matter. Two-parent families matter.
There are more things that cause
financially stable matters.
There are more things that cause your simple statistics that you're just trying to label. There are more things that cause those problems than you are actually even saying.
Yes.
You're leaving out context.
You embrace the mentality of victimhood. I embrace
so again, we're back to all Black people make bad decisions.
No, I never said that. You're putting words into my mouth.
Then fill in the context.
People make bad decisions too.
Fill in the context, or you're stating that all Black people just make bad decisions.
I never said that. You put words into my mouth.
I did not.
Embrace the mentality of victimhood.
Fill in the context then, Adam.
Empowerment. And there's a lot, I'll tell you something, there's a lot of African Americans who immigrate to this country who are more successful than whites. So
but they no. Don't even lie like that.
Garbage.
Don't lie like that. You're already telling a lie from the start. Yes, there are immigrants that come in that have had some success, but don't ever say that there is a higher percentage of Black Americans or Black people that come from other countries that have a greater time and a higher percentage of wealth than the white individuals that are here.
And I'll tell you
this, a lie.
African American females do just as good in the job market as their white female counterparts,
and they're paid less.
Empirical fact. Okay,
so I look at that as an empirical fact.
And I choose empowerment.
So again, you're leaving out context.
Look not to the government. Look to yourself.
So you're saying that Black women should be paid less, even though doing the same job, they're successful, but they're still paid less. So you're
that. Say that.
No, but it's an empirical fact that they are paid less. They are not. They are not.
But women are paid less, white or Black. We are abused and used, and we are paid less. We can do the same amount of work, better quality, because we work harder to prove ourselves to keep our jobs. And that has not changed in all the years I've worked. And I don't foresee it changing, especially under a Trump administration.
Kim, the statistics of payment disparity on gender are far more complicated than that. Okay.
Oh, wait. You throw up statistics that, black people make bad decisions, but leave out the context. Now we bring in statistics about women, and then you say, well, there's, we got to hold on. There's extra data.
I never said black people make bad decisions. I said single parent families, okay, and delinquency and not getting a high school diploma are factors that prohibit people from getting into the middle class regardless of race. You're putting words in my mouth to label me a racist.
You
know
right
what?
About that.
That's not going to work. That's not going to work. I'm sure the audience sees that.
African Americans that have that don't have the opportunity to get to college. Why? Why are there higher percentage of black Americans that have the single parent homes? You're leaving out context just to make a blanket statement.
Toby, what context is it good to have single parent homes?
Jump in here. A lot of my friends were single parents, black and white. Okay, a lot of women. What you're really leaning on is women who are single parents struggle to get ahead. Women who have to work hard to take care of the kids who have deadbeat dads. That is a fact. It is very hard to keep your head above water, to make it to all the school functions, and to have you don't have a normal life. Or
that's Adam's point.
I don't know, but I agree that the single parent home struggles the most. It is the one that is hardest to make it to middle class income because it's one income. And generally, it is a female income. And I am going to throw that in everybody's face. The majority is a female income, which, as Jatovi said, we make less. And it's true. So, Adam, you are absolutely right. We struggle at keeping our kids in a safe environment as a single parent. We do.
And we all face adversity in life in various forms, but choices and decisions still matter. And I choose to believe
many single parent homes. You leave out the context, Adam.
Regardless of the obstacles you face, is the key to success.
Adam and Jatovi, just really quickly, as y'all were talking, I was thinking to myself, one of the most powerful women in the world has gone through a number, if you study her history and everything, a number of abuses and all along those lines. And as far as I know, she is still a single woman, even though she's been with a long time, a significant other and everything. So I don't know that we can say that those circumstances are going to lead you not to be a success, because last time I checked, Oprah Winfrey is one of the most powerful women in the world, and she is definitely still in that single lane, has gone through a number of domestic abuses and a number of other things. And I think that she is an example of somebody that is.
I'm not criticizing single parent families.
But the thing is, what we are leaving out again is context, and we're also, and another reason why I keep pushing back against you, Adam, is because you use the word choices. Many of these single parent homes don't have a choice. A parent either died, a parent is thrown in jail, a parent just left because they ended up. So that single mom or single dad did not have a choice. So using that term also is an insult to those individuals because they didn't have a choice in this.
Yeah, and people are born gay, they're born transgender, they're born with disabilities, okay? They still have a choice about how to live their life. And I choose not to look at things as a victim. I choose to look at them as someone who is going to obtain vindication from their choices. Because I've encountered adversity that you don't know about, and I've overcome it because I have made those hard choices. And the best way to success and happiness is to take ownership over your life and your happiness, regardless of what's happening externally.
Again, people can make the choices all they want, but if there are roadblocks, which we have all had in our lives, and there are particular roadblocks to the transgender community, the LGBTQIA community, women, again, we have just pointed out that women get paid less. It's not the fact that she chose to get paid less. She's forced to accept less. The irony of the whole thing is that women actually are the better of the bosses. Statistically and empirical data have proven that women are better bosses than men.
It's
So
also
it's
proven that women are equally as vicious to other women than men are. And as a white man,
That
I can
has
tell
nothing
you,
to do
when I was applying to be a college professor, I was told by several hiring committees, you weren't hired because you were white. And that is racism. But in spite of those obstacles, those roadblocks, I still persevered. I still got a job.
You were told that you couldn't be hired because you were white. But
You're
okay,
damn right.
you take one place. You take one place and you run that rampant. But I am told that I can't get the same amount of a loan that you can get. I am told that I can't get the equal pay that you get. You've already established the fact that I am told that I can't go to the same schools that you go to. Heck, Tiger Woods was the first to play at the Masters. Do you realize how long it took for that to happen? So you cannot sit here and say that it's all about choices. Choices are a part of it,
No,
sure.
but the fact that he was the first African American to win the Masters doesn't mean the Masters was all about racism.
There are contextual things that you've even admitted, but you don't want to use the term that race is there. Okay, so what? But again,
Yes, I don't believe
it's a reality. It is a reality. And the funny thing is,
I want to give other people the chance to speak.
Okay, we'll let everybody else speak.
I do enjoy the discussion, though.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think what Jacoby is missing is these things that Adam is saying are not positive things for kids to grow up in a house. It's not beneficial for a kid to grow up in a house with an unwed mother. In what world are you living? It's not positive for a kid to live with a mother who didn't graduate high school. These are not positive things that they're going to give the kid advantages in life.
Is that a choice that the child made?
Hold on a second.
There's a choice that the woman made, yes.
No, but Lee, hold on a second, because
we don't know the choice that the woman made.
Hold on a second, Lee, because I know a number of women that are in those situations, and even to Toby's point, they have had folks that have walked out on them, left them for whatever reason. Sometimes they realize.
Mark, I get all that. You get divorces, you get deaths with spouse. I get all that.
But they were very effective
Domestic
parents. One of my
violence.
best friends is a great parent and a great grandparent. I mean, like I said, anybody that gets, if they choose to get involved with her, is going to step into a very difficult situation, because not everybody can handle those situations either. So that can also be part of the conversation, because I admire greatly my friend Nikki, but I also know that anybody gets involved with her is stepping into a ready-made family, shucks, a ready-made grand family, and all in that space. So that is things that she is able to cope with and deal with, and does a good job of it, and is very loving with her folks that are in her life, including her kids.
I admire people who choose to overcome adversity and who make that choice.
I
Families
can't
that
use
instill
the
in their
term
children the
choice.
values of choices, not circumstances, determine your destiny.
I cannot use the term choice because I don't know the circumstances where a person was in. So I can't say this single mother chose to be single mother. That's wrong on my part.
Jacoby, I agree with you when it comes to abuse. I agree with you when it comes to death of a spouse. I agree with you when it comes to divorce or whatever you want to fill in the blank. But I disagree with you when it comes to a single mother who's having a relationship where there's no father in there permanently and she chooses to have a child.
Again,
she got pregnant on her own. The immaculate miracle.
I agree with you, Kim. There's dual there. I agree with you that. But how does that benefit the kid?
That women don't get pregnant on their own, but I got a way to solve this problem. Every male born, we just snip him when he's a baby, and then when he is mature enough
we give it back to him.
Have a child, he can go get it reversed, because that's the safest way to do that. Just saying. But don't blame that on a woman because she didn't cross her legs. Okay.
And that's the problem that I'm having with this conversation, is that we're placing the single people are oh, well, he chose to do this, and it's so bad for that's their life. Sure, okay, if you want to say it's a choice, but let
I'm
them
not saying those are choices.
but understand that there are things that hold them back, and it's not their choice to hold them back. As things that Kim just actually talked about that a single parent had to go through. It's not that they chose that their child needs to do this and do that. No, these are things that this is responsibilities.
You
They
don't
have
choose
to.
what
There's
happens to you. You don't choose what happens to you, but you choose how you respond to it. Let me give you an example.
And that
A
is
few
true.
months before I started my job at Georgia College, my younger brother committed suicide. Now, I had a choice. How do I respond to that? Do I get depressed? Do I not go to my job? Do I let it affect me? Or do I go down to Georgia from New Jersey, despite the fact that my family is still mourning and in shock, and empower myself to be the best professor I can be? You're right, Jatovi. We don't choose what happens to us. We choose how we respond. And it's not about race, and it's not about anything else. It's about our mindsets.
again, even in that situation, which I apologize what happened to you, but even in that situation, there are things that we cannot control that create roadblocks for us, even in our decisions. And yes, race does play a factor in even in those decisions. Sex does play a factor even in those decisions. So we cannot just blindly say that everything is so equal and fruitful for everybody.
No one said equal,
literally
Toby.
just
You have to
No one
focus
said equal.
on
we
what you
just
can control.
we just
You focus on what you
admitted
can
to a
control.
fact. No, we just admitted to a fact. Women are paid less. We understand that.
In what
It's not
field? What
that she-
profession?
that
What industry?
Even the response to losing a job and choosing a new job, it's not like, hey, I'm going to go out and now I'm going to be paid as equal as a man because I choose to. There are roadblocks, and we have to understand and acknowledge that context, because if we don't, then we keep getting into these spats and, oh, well, you just
have a
chose not
choice
to do
about
right.
How you respond to those roadblocks. And I responded by making a choice to take ownership over my life. And every person faces roadblocks. Your choices, not your circumstances, determine your destiny. And families should be instilling in their kids tough mindsets. Yes, there's going to be inequality. Yes, there's going to be discrimination. Yes, there's going to be unfairness. But you have to deal with it and focus on what you can control.
The point is, you are saying, yes, there's going to be inequality. Yeah, okay, well, that's part of the context which holds some people back. So why do we ignore it when we know that certain people, for example, having worked in schools, having to deal with kids that are at risk coming in and out of prisons, having been in that experience and working with those children and understanding the views that they see and not being able to see anything more because their father is locked up for something that he didn't do, or their father was just trying to get the food for them, that's not a choice that child who is 17 years old that's a choice that child is having to deal with. And this choice idea that, oh, well, he can just choose to do this. No, there are circumstances that are contextual that we cannot ignore. And when we do that, we're doing a disservice to people.
Jacoby, just really quickly, hold on a second, just really quickly, if I can clarify what you said. It was not the gentleman, and people in case who they were listening also heard Adam's aside. It was not the gentleman didn't make the choice. I think what Jacoby was saying is that the child is being impacted by the choice that the parent made.
And the child has a choice in how to respond.
You're
part of that has a family should be instilling in their kids the value of, yes, there's going to be difficulties, and how you respond and focusing on what you can control and focusing on the choices you make is the key to happiness and success. I'm not a victim. My brother's suicide didn't make me a victim. My father's death didn't make me a victim. I'm not a victim. I take ownership over my life no matter what I face externally because I control my choices internally.
That idealistic view, that utopian view now of, oh my goodness, all you got to do because you're a child and your father was just shot, and now the only place that you can live in your apartment complex is this woman who says that she'll have sex with you if you go out and just get her some food. This child has no idea what the right choice or what these right values are. It is not as easy as you assume.
It is not that easy. Adam, hold on a second, because I also want to hear from Sasha. The one thing I will say, because it did come up in our family conversation, I told you we talk about a little bit of everything, is I have I guess that would be your second cousin, because it's mom's first cousin, but the actual cousin was killed by her husband, and this was years ago, and actually he's out, if I remember correctly. I don't think that he's passed on and all in that space, meaning the person that committed that crime. I can tell you for a fact, Adam, that all three of my second cousins are dealing with what that horrible crime was, because they were kids when it happened and everything, and they are dealing with it in different ways. Some of them might be acting out in the ways that they handle sexuality. Some of them may be having a hard time with their own relationships and having a hard time with a number of other things. But this incident happened almost 25 or 30 years ago, and I can tell you for a fact that it still impacts them to this day. So to think that
and a lot of things impact me too. I have a past too, and a lot of things.
Adam, your analogy is basically that if it doesn't happen in your backyard, or if you can do it, everybody can do it. That's untrue.
I don't believe
Factually,
I don't agree with you at all.
untrue.
You know, a lot of us have challenges in front of us, and some of them are harder than others, and you don't know what each person's challenge is. My mother always told me, and maybe this is the way the upbringing is, if you have the willpower to do something, just keep climbing, keep trying. Sometimes we just give up. And I've worked with so many women, especially women, who just give up, but men do too. I mean, I was holding and with a man this past weekend who's just given up. Just totally given up. He lost his wife years ago. He tried to kick an addiction, did really good for a while. Something happened, got hooked back. I mean, it just happens. Sometimes you just keep getting kicked, and some people just lose that willpower. Some people don't have somebody that gives them the passion or the push they need. So it's different for everyone, and I will say that. And there are millions and millions and millions of women who are out there trying to just get out of domestic violence, and they can't. Okay. There are millions and millions of children being forced to be born every day when a woman or a parent or a dad doesn't want them, and they're being abused and killed and beaten, starved, frozen, no home life whatsoever. And, you have these preachers get on their pulpit and go, oh, we need to stop these women from having these babies. But then you got these other preachers saying, oh, you women get pregnant, you need to have babies. There is no common sense or common decency to any of this, because you're not giving a woman her choice. And
Kim, along those same lines, I just want to hear from.
Not give women their choice.
Kim, along those same lines, and I definitely want to hear from Sasha and Lee before we end.
Yeah.
But I brought it up on this show, I brought it up on a number of other shows as well. I don't know whether Adam will agree with me. I don't even know if Jatovia will agree with me even as well. But there are a number of times that there is I would call it a double standard, because some of our institutions, it's not just the schools, but also the churches. They will sit there and preach all day long for people to stay in abusive relationships because of what they think is that moral code and all along those lines, and not realize what Jatovia is talking about, those circumstances. Because I can tell you that I've been in some churches where they have tried to encourage the couples to stay in abusive relationships, even though they know that relationships are not healthy and not ones that should be stayed in and all in that space. So
Mark, you don't focus on external things about what other people say or what adversity you're facing. You focus on what you can control, and you can control your choices.
You can. We can say that all day, but
I hear what you're saying,
I can't control the sun.
You also can't control what people are telling you if they are part of those institutions that are institutions.
You can't control how you respond to it.
I can control what time I wake up in the morning. I can control this.
That I can't control.
But the thing is, you've got to realize, and it's just like Kim said, and honestly, to wrap it back around to how we're talking about, we've lost it in this country about caring about each other. This is the exact problem, is that we're talking about, I could control this. You should be able to as well. Instead of, what are the circumstances that put you there? Are you okay? What did you need? Because obviously there is an issue that you need help with, and I would love to help you with that issue. How empathetic can I be towards your plight? Because your plight may not be mine, but hey, we can work on our plights together as we move forward. As I help you, I can learn from you. But no, we get into this argument of, hey, you should have been able to do it. I did it. That's not the way we should be.
Yeah. And by the way,
I don't think that was his point, Jacoby. I think his point was not that I could do it, you could do it. His point was life is not fair. We all start different places. The only thing that you can control is your effort. That's it.
Again, Lee, just what you just said is a wordier way of saying, well, I could do it. You should be able to as well. It's the same thing.
We could always be better today than we were yesterday, Jacoby.
Empathy requires accountability.
Empathy requires another individual to reach out and say, hey, are you okay?
Yes,
let's hear from Sasha.
Look at any drug addict, and I will tell you that you can be as empathetic as you want to them, but they have to take responsibility for their own recovery, just like we have to take responsibility for our
That's
own
not empathy.
lives.
That's working with, and that's practicing to get better. That's a different thing. Empathy is, hey, are you okay?
Sasha,
And
before we
I
wind down,
You can do both,
think
Jacoby.
both.
Yeah, you
I
can do.
think-
I'd like to hear from Sasha.
Yeah, I want to hear from Sasha as well. Sasha.
Well, this show is going from bad to worse. And you know why? Because it has no topic. You call it the world politics. This discussion, what you had for the last 45 minutes, it has nothing to do with the world politics. Essentially, what you're trying to say is that it's better to be healthy and wealthy than sick and poor. This is all what about. You're talking about the disadvantages of women or black people or this people or that people. I mean, what's new in all that? It's been that for centuries and will be like that for another 735 years. And what can you do about it? Nothing. You can fight, you can do anything. Actually, I saw today a very interesting movie on Netflix about, if you remember, the French politician, the Dominique Strauss-Kahn, when he had this either rape or some kind of unwanted sexual advance in the New York hotel, and he was exposed, and this poor cleaning lady from Guinea, Africa, so she was launched complaint, and of course she was helped with certain people who wanted his downfall in France, and it was very, very interesting movie, well done, extremely well done. But then it comes down to there are no absolute truths in everything what people are trying to say or do. It depends on the circumstances. It depends your power, your inner strength, your family. For example, his wife was with him from the very first day when it's happened until the very last. They divorced at the end of the day anyway, but still she had to go all through.
No,
Now,
but Sasha,
today we discussed, hold on. I want to ask Adam about one thing. As a trickle-down economy, I have some difficulty with that. Let's see, 50, 60 years ago, it worked, and I would agree with everything what you said about it. Not today. I'll tell you the way I think about it, where I am now. Let's say I have $10 million, free and clear. I can start any business, maybe go as a partner in some existing business if I want to. But today, as a proposition to put your money at risk is incredibly unattractive, because this is subject to all kind of situation where somebody can rape somebody on your premises, or some people will be accused that they don't like black people, or they don't like Jews, or they don't like somebody else, and your business will be sued that you fire somebody, or you hired somebody who should not be hired, or so on. There are besides purely business risk, your business could go down the drain simply because of the unfavorable economic situation and so on. But there are a lot of things that could go wrong. So therefore, if you can invest in the stock market and have meaningful result, let's say 10, 15% a year, Okay, I'm doing that full time and maybe I'm lucky or so on. I made last year 230%. Okay, so why would I invest my money into anything in all kind of garbage with economic uncertainty and all possible things? How many possible things that would go wrong and ruin my business, and I would, as a result, lose the money? I will never ever consider it, and I think that people who will say that will get a lot of taxes back, and they are rich, and forget about $10 million, they have $100 million, they have $1.5 billion. They would be complete idiots and morons to put that money at risk. So they'd rather structure them, put them in different funds, put them offshore, put them in stock market at whatever returns they can generate. And that's it. Forget about business. America today is not a fruitful idea to start your business or even to invest in a private business. Public, yes, okay. You are at least you have liquidity. If something is wrong, okay, you can sell the stock, you can run away, you can buy something else. But to invest in a private enterprise, it's absolutely no. That's my opinion.
Adam, I don't know if you had any thoughts to that, but just to your earlier comment that you made, and I know we can go a little bit over and everything. Sasha, actually, part of what we were talking around was around empathy and people having empathy and all along those lines. And one of the conversations that I was getting ready to get to, and this might wind up being a 30-minute or an hour long debate as well, was that apparently there was a effort by Biden to express some empathy towards a certain community and all along those lines, because he had some doubts about the number of people that the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry said had been killed in the war between Israel and Hamas. So then he recently, I think it was like in the last day or two, turned around and apologized to Muslim leaders because he had cast doubt on what was going on and having some skepticism. So he has now offered an apology because he was saying that they
Mark, should he have apologized?
Hmm?
Should he have apologized? They're not. You can't trust them.
Yeah.
You saw
The
what they did
Muslim
with the
leaders?
hospital. Yeah, the Hamas leaders. You can't trust them.
I don't think it was just the Hamas leaders. Was it the Arab leaders, the Muslim leaders?
That he
No, I
was
don't think
calling-
Muslim. No, I don't think so, Toby. If not mistaken.
Well, no, Lee, it was the. I mean, he was having doubts about the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. So I hear what you were saying.
Right. That's
in
my
that
point. Yeah.
case, but the people that he met with were some of the Arab leaders because they had called him into question for the way that he called Gaza Health Ministry into question as well. So while he was being skeptical, and I can understand the skepticism based on who is giving those figures, just like I can be skeptical about some of the figures that are coming from Israel as well. I do think that
Or America.
Or who?
Or America. Anyone needs to be skeptical to a certain extent. But we all know that in Gaza, Hamas runs the health ministry, and they're not reliable. That's not up for discussion.
No, and I think
Yeah,
that
I
like
think- One of the things I think that's getting missed in a lot of discussions is I keep hearing about Hamas and the Israelis, but I don't hear much about the Palestinians. And my view is there must be a two-state solution to this problem.
Agreed.
Now, how are we going to get there? I don't know. I don't have the slightest idea because there is so much acrimony. But in my view, we have to separate Palestinians from Hamas and recognize we're probably not going to eradicate Hamas in its entirety. But you know what? Israel was attacked and 1,400 people were slaughtered. And to the extent that we can eradicate them, we should. But Palestinian people deserve a state, and there should be a state. How we do that, I don't know, Sasha. You probably know more about this than I do.
Well, Adam, very simple question to you. First of all, okay. When you want to implement something, you create a little business plan, even if it's a page and a half. Then you start elaborate on each detail, and you're trying to build a bigger picture, what you're trying to accomplish, or so on. Let's come to the situation of 2005, when, unlike West Bank, which is policed and taken very methodically operated by Israel. Gaza is a different story. Israel made a decision to get out completely out of Gaza. So the Gaza now is free. And they said, please, we are out, build second Singapore, good luck, and that's it. Well, 18 years later, there is no second Singapore or a third Singapore or even Kuala Lumpur or anything. It's Gaza. And you should understand what really it is, especially now once this so-called war between Israel and Gaza will be over. You will see that Gaza will be completely destroyed and probably unlivable for next probably 25, 50 years. So, okay, second, you're talking about the state, the Israel has its own state. So it is Palestinians that you are talking about having their own state. You see, the Palestinians is basically a tribal culture. They don't even have normal families as we think in a way. They have tribes that they're uniting against a strong leader who is powerful and has several wives, and he's deciding what to do. And then there is another tribe, also powerful leader, or so on. Then unite. Okay, let's work together. Let's see. Okay, you have this land, and I have a little bit of this land, so we will work together and help each other. And then there is a third tribe comes in, or so on. Now, from this tribal arrangement, which was the white people had probably 3,000-4,000 years ago, and they have it now. For a state building, to create a state with institution, with army, banks, and political system, financial system, educational system, or anything like that, Adam, you're talking about probably 50, 100 years from now, if all that slowly will be developed. Maybe you get there, maybe not. But even if you're optimistic person and you believe that you can still do it, well, why don't you do it? Why you didn't in 2005? Actually, okay, you made some mistakes and you didn't want to do it, and you didn't know how to do it, or you decided it's not time to do it. Okay, so now once this war will be over, and it will be over, every war is over at some day. So if it will take a month, 2 months, 6 months, but it will be over. So then Palestinians will say, we want to build our country. But Hamas, even if it still will be existed at that time, Hamas is not interested to build second state. No, they're getting so much money from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, from the United States and Canada and Europe and so on. We are talking about billions of dollars. Qatar itself is good for $200 million, just Qatar. But there are so many others, including US, Canada, as I said before. So Hamas is against trying building this new so-called society because they would lose all their money, all their power, which comes with that.
Sasha,
just to point out, Sasha, Netanyahu is also against that. Sasha, Netanyahu is also against that. He was the one who was funneling money to Hamas because he did not want that two-state solution either. There's a problem with all of it. No, wait, Sasha, there's a problem with everything that you said, is that the Palestinian people, which Adam and I completely agree on, are not Hamas, but you keep throwing in Hamas because you point out the 2005 because you're holding on to this idea. Well, you know that half of the country wasn't even alive to vote at that time. And when Hamas came into power, the gentleman that they had put up to be voted in actually sounded rather reasonable. But then he twisted everything after he got the vote, and he twisted everything. And this is what we have now is Hamas, and they are partners with Hezbollah and all the other ones. But again, the problem is we have to separate out the Palestinian people, because the Palestinian people did not want Hamas. They are not in agreement with everything that you think that they are in agreement with.
Toby, have you seen the polls? Have
And
you seen the
again,
polls conducted
listen,
in Gaza?
we just talked to Dr. Washington last week, and it pointed out the polls and how skewed the polls are. Because if you say anything bad about Hamas, what's going to happen to you? So you're going to be big and bad because you live in. No, again, the polls are skewed. So you cannot sit here and trust the polls, but you can trust the fact, Lee, you can trust the fact that they were in the streets. And there is video evidence of this, and I've even showed you guys this, but you ignore it. There's video evidence of the Palestinian people yelling F Hamas before this even happened. So why do we ignore these things? Why is this so hard to understand that the Palestinian people are not Hamas? Why?
I'm agreeing with you, Joe. I'm trying to agree with you. Okay, my point is, I don't see outside of Gaza, in the United States, Canada, Europe, Palestinians protesting, rallying peacefully, saying that Hamas does not represent us. I don't see that.
Lee,
What I see
the
is anti-Semitism
problem
on display at universities. And you know what the problem is also? In 2000, Arafat had a great deal from Bill Clinton at the Camp David summit.
On a plate.
That was a missed
silver plate, Toby.
Opportunity.
Again,
And I mean, how much are you supposed to? How many concessions did Israel make in that summit? And why did Arafat say no? Because he went there with no intention to say yes.
With no counter offer, Adam.
And you know why? Because when he passed away in 2004, for 1 month, people did not release the fact that he was dead. You know why? Because his family, his widow, his children, his relatives, they were fighting for a fortune of $2 billion. That's why Arafat was against peace. That's why he was against this and that, because he just was worth at the time of his death $2 billion cash. However, today's
hold on, are we saying that? Are we saying that the rich people, the rich corrupt individuals, all the people in that country agree with the rich corrupt individuals? Is that what we're saying? Because
who's pulling the strings, Toby? Who's in charge?
If I'm correct, then that means why didn't we all agree with Trump? Why are people already upset at Netanyahu and wanting him out? So again, that's the only. So this is very reminiscent of a lot of other situations that we can bring in, but I don't want to cloud the waters. But the thing is, this is the problem. The Palestinian people we're lumping in with Hamas so easily. But when other organizations do particular things, we don't lump the whole country into that corrupt organization. And the Palestinian people are getting left out. And this is why there was a shooting from a white dude who didn't even care. He just saw that they were Palestinian and shot him. That's not something.
Did they say the reason they shot him?
That's the reason.
No. The last I saw on the news, they had not determined the reason.
They did say it was because he was Palestinian.
Yeah.
The 3 students were Palestinian.
They said that.
No, they obviously were Palestinian, Mark. I'm not denying that. I'm saying that they determined a motive yet.
The motive was a hate crime. That's the motive.
How do you know that? Last I saw, they said they haven't.
In the reports I've heard, it was a hate crime, and everybody is admitting that it was a hate crime where they specifically targeted them because they were Palestinians and everything. I was going to.
Is that coming from the police or from talking heads? Because the police report I saw said they haven't determined that.
Well, like I said, I've heard it from a variety of sources, including some of that study those things, but I will continue to do my research as I often do on a number of these things. I mean, one of the things that you talked about, Adam, and I've got to push back just slightly on something that Sasha said and all along those lines, because we can't necessarily stereotype people. One of the things that you were getting on Kim about, and even Jacoby, Adam, was this notion that of their attitudes around women and the African-American population. I'm not going to sit there because I actually know some. I don't know if Sasha may know some as well, but I know some Palestinian individuals, and I'm not going to say that they're all tribal. Some of the Palestinian individuals I know actually run some nice businesses. As a matter of fact, if you go to certain cities, there might and it can be a stereotype, but there are certain gas stations that are run by a number of Palestinian individuals. So I'm not going to necessarily say that they are all tribal and not necessarily doing business deals and all in that space. So that's just something that I'm not going to say that they're all part of.
I totally understand your point, but I'm going to concede. Look, I do not know the culture that exists in that region. I don't know the nuances of the situation. I've never been to Israel, so I don't really know what's happening on the ground and what the issues really are. Now,
Adam, I just one question for you. I hear what you're saying, but do you believe this is overland or this is theological?
I think it's theological.
Then giving them land and first state is not going to help if that's the case.
No, that's why the 2000 summit at Camp David didn't work, because they made
and why a two-state solution will not work either. Period. It won't work.
No,
that's not what they're.
But hold on a second. You can have theological.
That's a fair
debates.
point. So if that's not going to work,
fair point. But you can have theological. You can have theological differences and still exist in everything. There are a number of.
No, you can't, Mark.
Even on the African.
Mark, if I don't think you should be able to exist, you can give me all you want. You saw The Princess's Bride.
That's the.
That was a famous scene.
Yeah. No, I know that's a famous scene, but I'm just saying, but that's a stereotype, and I don't necessarily agree, because I've heard some people, even on the other side, meaning the Jewish side as well, that have had a similar type dichotomy and everything. So I'm not one of those people that believes that everybody that is Arab is saying that they're
not everybody, Mark. No, not everybody. I don't think anyone said everybody.
Right, and that's my point, is that there are a number of folks, including moderates and all governments and everything. So I think that a two-state solution is very possible. Even to something that Sasha said and earlier, he used the business plan analogy, and I like that analogy because I've got some friends that have been in that business space and everything. But you can tell me all day long to build a city, but if you don't show me, if you don't provide me the brick or give me the plan to build the city, then I'm not going to build the city. You got to actually give me the resources to build the city and everything. So that's my point, is that, you know, you can what's that old saying about fishing and everything? There's a famous religious quote about teaching a man to fish and all in that space, and that's what I would argue we have to do in this situation.
But what I think what Lee is saying is that the Palestinians, and I'm not culturally an expert on that region, but I think what he's saying is that they don't want a two-state solution because they are dedicated to the destruction of Israel, and if that 100%. Is the case,
no,
nothing is ever going to change.
That is a militant view, and we've said on this show and several other shows that there are militant views on even our own American politics. As Sasha said earlier, this is the World Politics Show, and just for every squad member, there is a member of MAGA. To me, those are extremist views in our own politics as well and everything. So I'm saying that there are moderation that can exist, and I think there's moderation that exists in those spaces. I've told you that I know people that live there. I had a dear friend that was a co-worker that was literally from Egypt. He made a lot of his money before he moved back to Egypt as a agricultural businessman, and he did really good in his agricultural business and all of that. Matter of fact, I need to see if Mr. Muhammad is still living, or as we called him, a Mo, in all of that space, because he was not a young man at the time that he went back home and everything, but he was one of those people that I would consider to be a moderate that was from Egypt. So like I said, he was an Egyptian. So I think that there are folks that are in that space. And to Toby's point earlier, I don't think that you can say that Hamas is one. Everybody has said, and I agree that they are a terrorist organization. Everybody on this network has said that. I've not heard anybody, including some very liberal people, that have said that they are not a terrorist organization and need to be eradicated and got rid of. But I don't think that they are the majority view and all of that space.
Mark,
and as we've also said, polls are very skewed.
Mark, you know what's the problem with your views, what you just expressed? The problem is that, okay, here is a Hamas. Hamas wants to destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. Is that clear? Do you agree with that? Or
I just said Hamas is a terrorist organization. I said
no, you agree. Just one word, agree. Okay, I don't want to spend so much time on Hamas. Okay, here is Palestinian people who wants mere peace with Israel. They're peaceful people, they're noble people, they're great people, but because of the Hamas, it cannot happen. So Israel is offering, okay, we will get rid of Hamas, we will help you out. Palestinian people, you hate Hamas. Hamas is torturing you and you cannot arrange a peace with Israel. Okay. We'll do your job. You're scared of Hamas. They will kill you. They will rape you. They will do whatever horrible things. Israeli army is not scared of Hamas. Israeli army can go in, and if it wouldn't be for this stupid peace for 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7.5 days, and all that because of the hostages or on. So they release some 82 years old women and some kids. Okay, thank God for that. But okay, but this pause, it will come to an end another 2 days, another 3 days, but that will be the end of it. And Israel will start doing its job. Its job is eliminating Hamas. There will be no such entity anymore. You will have to go to Wikipedia and find out what is a Hamas, where, it existed from 1987 to 2023. Oh, okay, we got it. So Israel is doing job to liberate Palestinian people. So why these stupid Palestinians all over the world are marching on universities, on every town square, that from the river to the sea, Palestinian is free? Mark, you tell me.
First off, I said before, I know Palestinians, I know them personally, and not everyone is saying that chant. Not everyone is saying that it is of the Palestinian background and all in that space, just like I know some Jews, and I pointed them out to you before, that are protesting for a two-state solution and a number of other things. So there are people of a variety of views and all in that space. As folks have told you before, one of the concerns, and it's a concern even around Ukraine as well, is that there are some people that will have the attitude, and I'm not saying that it is a correct attitude, but it is easier to deal with the enemy that you know than the enemy that you don't know. And there's a lot of people that will argue with you that at least they know where Hamas stands and what Hamas is all about and everything. And most people agree that Hamas needs to go. But there are people that are concerned as to what it will be replaced with, just like there are people that are concerned about what will be in Putin's place after Putin leaves. And I know that Adam is a Putin apologist and a lover of Putin and all in that space. And yes, I'm teasing you, Adam, and all along those lines. But definitely there is some folks that are concerned about what would be the replacement. As folks have told you before, ISIS, I get them confused as which one was first, but whether it was ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they were replaced by something that was as bad, if not worse, and everything. So that is what some people are concerned about. Even if we get rid of Hamas, what does it say that the next version won't be triply as bad, or if not quadruply as bad?
Mark, I'll give you an example why I would justify Putin and Russia much more than Hamas. There is a certain school in political philosophy which calls real politics. Mm-hmm. And one of the greatest spokesmen of that school is Professor John Mearsheimer. Okay. Now, his theory is a very simple theory, actually. One who has a power dictates to its neighbors what to do, when to do, how to do, and so on. So the weaker neighbor has to get up in the morning and ask, Your Highness, what would you like me to do today for you? Should I dance maybe, or sing you a song, or do some other nice things, or so on? So that was expected from Ukraine as a weaker and smaller neighbor to do for Russia and Putin, according to Professor John Mearsheimer. Now, that didn't happen. And of course, the stronger and more powerful Russia was very upset that Ukraine doesn't dance, doesn't sing anything, and so on. So they wanted to punish. Now, the question, though, is, does Big Daddy Russia and Putin have enough power, enough strength to punish its weaker neighbor? That remains to be seen. You see, normally, according to Professor John Mearsheimer, the weaker neighbor should have been long time ago to say, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, I'll never do it again. Okay, I'm not going to.
Sasha, hold on.
Now, having to Hamas. So Hamas inflicted this horrible attack on October 7th based on what? It felt that it's much stronger than Israeli army. Israeli army is number
Sasha,
2 or 3 in the world.
Hold on a second.
So
Sasha,
what
hold on a
they
second.
did? What's the
No,
calculation?
Sasha, hold on a second. Have you listened to any of the speeches from the Hamas leaders? Because like I said, I read the news and I read everything. And actually, if you read the arguments and everything of Hamas leaders themselves have said that they knew that they were going to be killed. They knew that they were going to be martyrs. They knew that they were going to be dead. And they actually did this atrocity because they wanted to sabotage the two-state solution. So they actually did it, if you listen to their speeches, because they knew that this would be the reaction of the world. So they actually have stated publicly that the reason that they launched that atrocious attack was because they knew that they were going to be dead as soon as they did the attack, and that this would disrupt what they saw as
Mark,
a solution.
Can I ask you very quickly? If their goal was, in fact, to die, okay, why don't they kill all themselves and spare Palestinians, kids, women, and by the way, Israeli soldiers just as well, of their deaths?
But Sasha, everybody here, as far as I know, is, and I consider myself more spiritual than religious, but I would say that we all have, and I'm not sure your own beliefs and everything, but we all have at least a spiritual backbone or a spiritual belief in everything. And there are a number of groups of people. I mean, I can think of the kamikazes in Japan. I can think of a number of other people that do not mind becoming what they consider to be martyrs for the cause. I am one of those people that dearly loves life and everything, so I don't know that I would be a good candidate for a martyr, but there are a number of folks that do not mind being martyrs for the cause. And to your other argument that you made earlier and everything about powerful nations, as I recall, there were 4, maybe 5 very powerful colonial nations that were European based and everything, but as last I checked, and whether we think that they are successful or not successful, and there are some that have been very successful, like Liberia and a number of others. There are some others, and even South Africa, that maybe aren't as successful. But if the African and the Asian nations had that attitude of not being willing to go up against the powers that be and everything, there would not be as many free African and Asian nations as there are, and all in that space, because a lot of them wanted freedom for whatever reason they wanted freedom.
Guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but I must unfortunately depart for the evening. So
we're going to wind down.
It was a pleasure.
No, it was a pleasure. We're going to wind down. The only thing that I was going to get to, and we can save this for Thursday and everything. And as a matter of fact, I'll just bring it out as a topic, but just continue this in your mind as we get ready to end the show and everything. But the other thing that I was getting ready to get to that we didn't get to is apparently Mr. Trump, and we can talk about this on the Thursday edition, has said that he is open to using the military as a way to deal with domestic terrorism. And I know DeSantis has said similar things and all along those lines. So since we are, as Sasha put it, a world of politics show, we can think about how other countries have done that, but also how the U.S. has done it, because that was something that I had also read, that Mr. Trump is looking at the possibility and is hinting at expanding the use of the military to deal with domestic terrorism, whatever that domestic terrorism might be, and all along those lines. So that could be a very robust conversation on Thursday as well. But right now we're getting ready to get on out of here. It's been a fun and interesting conversation, but we'll be back on Thursday, and on tomorrow we'll be on with World Edition. But Adam, I know you got to get out, and I've got to get to some stuff as well, and probably others do also. So we're going to end, and we will have the World Edition on tomorrow at 10 a.m. But there are other shows coming on. Unfortunately, because of the holidays, some people are still on holiday mindset. So at 7 o'clock, there will be an edition of the Sharon Campbell Show, which is around business and all along those lines. And at 8 o'clock, there will be an edition of Urban Sentinel coming from Maryland. But both of those shows are reruns, as I've already talked to both of the producers of those. Well, I'm the producer, but both of the hosts of those shows, and they've gone like, we're still on vacation. So I'm like, we still got reruns. So I'll put the reruns up and all in that space. So there's still programming going on, and we'll continue the programming on Pod TV until we come back live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Hope everybody has a blessed evening and a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you fine folks on in tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
No problem.
Take care.